So a lot of people want to buy property in Japan at the moment, it seems, especially in the ski towns. It's a romantic idea, especially if you've done a trip to Japan. You've probably experienced the snow, the food, the culture, everything. It ticks a lot of boxes, especially for Australians. It's a simple flight, fairly cheap to get here. It's quite a nice romantic idea. But buy a property in Japan, you know, ski out there in the winters, drink sake and live happily ever after. In this video, we're actually going to break down, can you actually make money from your said property that you want to buy, let's say, up in the mountains? So we'll break down some of the numbers, see if it's actually financially viable. So let's start with the overall opportunity. So Japan has recovered a lot since COVID. It seems to be on everyone's list at the moment. Nozawa and Hakuba have always been on people's sort of ski destination list, but now everyone's starting to look for a little bit further out, something that's a bit more affordable, something that's not as busy. That's where Myoko, Madarao, Nozawa Onsen, even Nozawa's very busy now, starting to come, are more on people's radar, these smaller towns. And that's what we're going to be sort of basing our sort of chat about today is, you know, is it still financially viable to buy a property in these sort of smaller rural towns in Japan and still make a profit? So what we're seeing on the ground here in Myoko, you know, let's say you've got a 3 or 4 bedroom standalone chalet, which is sort of renting anywhere from 80 to 150,000 yen per night during the peak season, from like mid-December through till, let's say, mid-March. So you've got about 90 odd days there of bookable nights during the peak season during winter. So now let's break down the potential revenue versus reality. You know, let's see how it sort of starts stacking up. So let's say on average we're booking out 100,000 yen per night for over the season. We're going to say 75 nights, so we're going to say 7.5 million yen overall top line gross revenue for the season. Now we're going to start looking at some of the costs to see where it sort of stacks up, to see if it's still financially viable to run an Airbnb in these sort of rural towns in Japan. These are all going to be rough guides to what we sort of have to pay for our cleaning and utilities and things as well. We've been operating in Myoko since 2018. So first cost on the list is cleaning and linen. So let's say you got a, like I said, 3 or 4 bedroom property. It's going to cost you anywhere from $250 to $300 per stay, or 25,000 yen to 30,000 yen. There's a linen and cleaning fees associated with that. Now, if you're doing your own cleaning yourself and washing your own linen, you can save a little bit there. There's a lot of work involved with cleaning your own linen, and I highly recommend using a linen company. We use linen companies for all our day-to-day changing of our linen. We cannot keep on top of changing 50 sheets per day or anything like that. So we use a linen company. You could say anywhere from 500,000 to 750,000 yen for this, just this expense, just the linen. Booking platforms, Airbnb, Booking.com, any of these other OTAs, they charge generally anywhere from 10 to 15, even 20%. You can actually have it on a sliding scale to see how much you actually want to put your property out there. They'll take more commission off you. Like, you want to be at the top of the list, okay, well, we'll charge you 20%, 25%, let's say, on Booking.com. We generally try and push people direct. And anyone that's looking actually booking a trip to Japan, I highly recommend going direct. Most operators, including ourselves, we offset the price that these OTAs charge by putting that on top. So if it's 100,000 a night, and if they charge us 15%, then the price is 115,000 on that platform. And most of operators in Myoko, and I'm sure the other operators up and down the country, do the same, just to try and offset those high commissions that these platforms do charge. So definitely, on that note, if you're looking to go to Japan, definitely look at Booking direct. So new utilities and snow removal, this is a big one. This is snow removal is a big job, especially in Myoko. We average around sort of 12 to 15 meters of snow a season. You can do the snow clearing yourself. You'd need some sort of a snowblower or bulldozer, or depending on the property, each property is sort of unique in its own way. But there's ongoing costs. The snowblowers, it range, if you're buying something second hand, maybe 500,000, so let's say 5,000 Australian, up towards 25 to 30,000 for a brand new machine. That's good for the area. You know, you want something pretty heavy duty, diesel, that's going to go the mileage, and ideally not break down on you during peak season. So for that, I would say snow removal, you could say anywhere from 200,000 to 250,000 just for ongoing costs. That's not including the cost of the machine itself. Utilities for a property that's say 3 or 4 bedroom, I would allow at least 150,000 to 200,000 yen per month. So let's say for January, February, all up, if you allow like 5 to 600,000 per season, that should cover most of your utilities. This is gas, water, and electricity. These all get spiked during winter months as well. Depends on the property. You know, a lot of them still run kerosene, which is fairly affordable, but their kerosene prices have been going up the last few years, and it's still quite a dirty way to heat your house, let's say. And a lot of guests aren't super keen on it. As myself, I'm not super keen on kerosene, but it seems to be what a lot of Japanese use still to, you know, generate warmth in the property. Yeah, but we've sort of gone down more using heat pumps and these sort of things. But then that requires a lot of electricity. For example, our lodge sleeps up to 28 guests, a few staff as well. The power for there is around 200,000 yen per month. A lot of that's just from these. We have 2 heat pumps there that don't turn off basically all season long. Then there's lights and all the rest of it, but fridges and things. But generally, those heat pumps would probably be drawing $1,000 a month in power. Just a rough overview on that. So insurance and your yearly tax and things. Insurance you could probably allow 2.5 to 3 or 4 grand, depends if you get earthquake cover or just regular fire insurance, and depending on the sum that you've insured it for as well. If you're insuring it for $500,000 or whatever the value might be, that's where you'd be sort of sitting for insurance. Earthquake is pretty much double the premium. So if you get full earthquake cover as well, you'd probably be looking at more like $5,000 for the year. The only downside with the earthquake cover is generally most insurance providers will only pay out half the premium or half the insured value, let's say. So if the property's insured for 50 million yen, they'll only pay out 25 million yen if there's an earthquake and the whole place falls over. So ourselves, we haven't actually got earthquake cover on our properties. We just have the standard fire and everything else that's included. We don't opt for the earthquake cover because I'm always like, if you're only paying out half, but it's costing me double in the premiums. Generally up in the mountains where we are, we don't not as earthquake prone as near the coast and things, which do get a fair few more earthquakes. We did feel the earthquake these last couple of years. Luckily no damage was done though. So all up, you could say your running costs as a very rough ballpark would be around 2.5 million, let's say. So you've still got around, 4.5, 5 million left at the end of the day. This is not including accounting or flights or anything there. This is very rough numbers, but just to give you a bit of an idea where you can sort of sit if you're looking at renting out a small Airbnb. This is you doing predominantly most of the work yourself as well. If you're going to get someone to manage it, you would expect anywhere from maybe, it's hard to say, but anywhere from 15 to 25% management fees for someone local to maybe look after your property, manage the snow clearing, manage all the check-ins and check-outs and all the day-to-day operations of the business. So then you're back down to more like 3 or 3.5, 4 million, depending on how much the management commission is. You've got all your legal licensing as well around these Airbnbs. It's not as easy just going to buy a random house, renovating it and putting it online. There is a lot of rules and regulations that have come in, especially around minpaku licensing, which is the bare minimum that you need to be able to operate legally an Airbnb within Japan. And that's fairly straightforward to get. Bit of a process. Ideally, it would be best to get someone else to help you with that, unless you're fluent in Japanese and understand the rules and all the different nuances around the minpaku licensing. Ourselves, luckily we have someone on the ground that helps us out with a lot of our licensing requirements, as it is a fairly rigorous sort of process. Minpaku is the easiest. Then this next level up is the ryokan license, which is fairly straightforward as well. You've got to work in with the health department and the fire department. You've got to have yearly fire drills. You've got to go to the health department once a year and do a couple of tests there. But the main difference between the two is for the minpaku license, you can only operate 180 days of the year, whereas with the ryokan, you can operate 365. There is also another hotel license, which goes one up again, and that's for large, let's say 20, 30 room hotels. That's a whole nother level again. Most of our places are all under the ryokan license, which we do have Cedar House, which falls under the minpaku license. There is a few different rules and regulations around visas and things with this as well, which you'll have to navigate depending on your visa status within Japan as well. Whereas if you're just on a tourist visa, you may not be able to oversee the day-to-day operations of the Airbnb. You may have to employ a company to manage it for you, to keep it all above board. Ourselves, we do a lot of the work ourselves, and we get a team around us that help with the cleaning and the day-to-day logistics of running multiple properties and rentals and pizza and ski schools and everything. So that's how we get around it. But if you're just looking at one place, it may be a little bit tricky with regards to your visa, and also can you legally operate it yourself, or do you have to employ a company to help you operate it? So overall, the daily operations during winter can be challenging from times. It's not all just snowboarding and drinking beers at the end of the day. Like I said, snow removal or yukikaki is a big part of the role, especially during winter. Generally, most Japanese pride themselves at getting up at 4 in the morning and starting to clear their snow. And if you're seen to be getting up at 5, they think you're slept in. So there's that big part of it. It's great though, I've embraced it. I'm fully keen to get up early, smash out the snow clearing, and then the days ahead of you to do whatever else crops up, or to go snowboarding and enjoy the area yourself. But that's a big part of the job, so be ready for that. And depending on the property, sometimes you may have to work in conjunction with your neighbours to help sort of clear the roads or clear the area or whatever it may be. or if it's a small block and some of the snow slides onto their block, or whatever it may look like, there could be a bit of a team effort there on clearing the snow. So definitely don't be afraid to get stuck in and clearing the snow. It goes a long way in town if you're seen to be out there getting into it, getting it done before you've got the whole day ahead of you. You can be, depending on the property, you might take you an hour. Let's say clear snow in the mornings, you might get half a metre to a metre overnight, so there's a fair bit of snow to sort of clear out from the mornings. Also, check-ins and check-outs. This is also a big part of the role, obviously, but sometimes you might get people arriving late at night. They could be coming in at 10, 11 o'clock at night. You might have to go meet them at the house, but people want a nice warm house. We generally show everyone through. Depending on we've got the lodge, there's always staff there, and we like to know ahead of time what time you're going to be arriving, so we can sort of make sure that we're going to be there to show you around and all that sort of thing. Especially in Japan, a lot of the properties, the older properties in particular, there might be a few things that need a little showing: how to use the heater, how to use the oven, how to work the TV, how to turn on Netflix, or how to work the Wi-Fi. All these little things, great to meet your guests. Say good day, give them a quick tour, and then let them be. But just nice to sort of put a name to a face when checking guests in, where you go down that road, as opposed to leaving a key in a lockbox sort of thing. And then there's also the unforeseen things that you can't predict: the emergencies, the bloody lost keys, the frozen pipes, the cars in the ditch, or a number of different things that can crop up on a daily basis, especially when you're involved with a lot of heavy snow in the area. People that maybe are not so familiar with driving on snow can create a lot of sort of dramas around that as well. So be prepared to jump in and help out guests where needed. Staffing as well is another big one. Getting a good team around you, a good team of cleaners or whatever it is that you're looking at getting into, definitely makes your life so much more enjoyable if you've got a good solid team around you that can help with the day-to-day. If you've got a good team, honestly, you can achieve anything though. Get in, do the cleaning, whatever the job may be, making pizza, teaching skiing or snowboarding, and then get out and enjoy the local area as well. Well, that's the way that we like to have our company culture. Try and give people a lot of time off so they can have time to enjoy the beautiful area that we're also lucky to spend time in. To wrap it all up, yes, you still can make money in Japan during the winter season through a small Airbnb, or if you scale that up to lodges and multiple properties, then 100% yeah, you can make money out of it. But there's definitely nothing passive about it whatsoever. It is, for a smooth operation, I think you really have to be there on the ground, help make, especially in the first probably 5 to 10 years. Maybe once you get it to a certain scale, you could probably step back a bit if that's what you want to do. But in those early days, I feel as though you really need to be on the ground, just managing everything, the guests, his crew, the cleaning, everything. It's all part of it. So definitely I would be recommending being on the ground the first few years for at least to get things up and operational. But yeah, definitely, if you're thinking about getting into the game, there's still definitely scope there, and there's still good room for growth, just within capital growth, I feel, within properties, especially in the Myoko region. But yeah, that window might not always be there. Give it another 5-10 years out, the prices will be very similar to Hakuba and Niseko, I would imagine. Whereas at the moment, they're still a bit more affordable than those sort of other more well-known resorts like Niseko and Hakuba and Nozawa, Myoko and Madarao and Lotte-Arai and all these sort of surrounding, towns and communities close to Myoko. They're still fairly attractive pricing, I would say. Love to hear from you guys. Are you thinking about buying a place in Japan or running an Airbnb? Any questions you might have, just definitely drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you.